I'm going to go through it quickly, then I'm going to go through it slowly. So you've got an overview of what you're seeing, and then we're going to dig deep, just high-level overview the first time you're seeing it. So I don't think it's useful going into too much depth if you don't have a perspective. So the very first thing we've got maintenance is typically items which are captured on a static basis. Customers will be something like your customer that you would have, your debtors for that matter. And then we've got document capture, which are typically documents which will be printed and or emailed off to customers. So that's your invoice, credit notes, orders, quotations. And then your enter and post scenario is typically items which will be batched. And your batched items will be typically where you would gather your external documents using other medium, put them together, and you want to just punch the information through, be it invoices or such, where you don't necessarily want to print a physical invoice or manage stock integration or anything like that. So the document capture allows you for integration within other modules like stock, and the enter and post is basically like a back office kind of a function to basically capture information that you need to put through onto the client. And then we've got query. We can query a person's account. And based on querying the person's account, you get information of transactions. I've just maximized it. And then you can see details of what's gone through on this particular account. I can highlight account and tell it to print a document, and then it will just show me the document onto the screen. And if I've set up emailing facility, which I have for this particular client, it will then automatically email this particular document off to the client. So there the details have gone off and it's busy sending the email. I told it not to click the send, so I'm not actually going to send them the email. So that's just querying the person's account. On there's other information like sales year to date, date of last sale, date of last payment, credits year to date, in other words, how much payments you've made to date, what the balance brought forward is for the account, and some aging related information as well, which is typically what one would expect to see on a system like this. And then we've got a quick button on the right as well to quickly print a statement if you choose to print a statement straight off the query screen. Then we've got our reports. So reports are a little bit more intense and give you more detail. So from an audit trail perspective, we've got batch control, stock audit trail, debtors audit trail. Then we've got the customer file list. We've got an age analysis. We've got sales statistics, which is broken down to product analysis, sales analysis, customer analysis, and document analysis. We've got VAT reports based on full report or summary report. So if I had to click on the VAT report just quickly and use all the information, it gives you a breakdown per VAT rate code summarized, or you could also have the detailed version if you choose to. We've got statements, and these are typically debtors statements that you would send out to your clients. And depending on that, how your environment's been configured, it could either auto send the statements via, it creates a PDF file and automatically sends it off to your clients, or you can do it the old-fashioned traditional way and send it to your printer and put it in an envelope. Nobody likes doing that anymore. And I don't think people should save the tree. So you've got the option there to do the old-fashioned way, or you can create PDFs and email it off to your clients. You can also just tell it, create me a whole bunch of PDF files and manually cut and paste them into your email if you're that way inclined, and that's fine. And then we've got the debtors ledger, which is basically a detailed statement scenario of what's happening for every single client's position. So for a debtors ledger, you will have information about the personal, the static information at the top, and then you have transaction related information that's gone through for the particular account. So that's available as a report. And all these reports that we pull up here, we can easily create them as save them as PDF files if you choose to, and then attach them and send them off to someone. So then we've also got reports like document history. Document history, like for example, if you want to see the history of all the invoices that you've created, you can do it for specific clients or not, and just basically gives you a breakdown of everything between date range of what's been generated. These are just various reports to help you manage your environment and so that you can see what's happening. Okay. And then there's a level of general ledger integration if you choose to integrate with the general ledger. And then we've got some configuration related information, which is just reports on stuff that you might have set up. Like for example, you might want a list of what your VAT rates are that you have set up, if ever you wanted to make that available. But I mean, it's just configuration related stuff. So that's just high level. We've got maintenance, and then we've got document capture, editor and post, queries, reports. So let's jump straight into invoices, because that's where we are at. I just want to peep here quickly at the system parameters to see if I'm integrating with stock. And yes, I am integrating with stock. I've got a little indicator here, just say I want to integrate with stock. We've also got an item there called sub-stock as well, which I'll talk about a little bit later. I've got that turned on for now. So for invoices, I'm going to go to invoice and I'm going to create an invoice. I've already got batch number 4 set up over here. I can create another batch, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to just say insert, I'm going to create an invoice. So the first thing I can do is I can type in the code of the debtor that I'm wanting to create the invoice for. If I can't remember the code, it's not a problem. I just click the lookup button, and then I can either search for them by name or by code. And then when I've got the debtor, I can just select them, and then it will pre-populate some information on the screen for me based on the information that's stored for that debtor. And on the left here, we've got the postal address, and we've got the delivery address information. You've got hotkeys that you can click to go there, or you can just click in there with your mouse and go and update the information. You can also have the facility to put notes. You've got up to 3 lines of notes. These notes are particularly useful if you're wanting to send information to clients on an ongoing basis. We have facility in the system parameters where you can say, hey, we've got a Christmas special, or remember to contact us about our Black Friday special, or look out for this and that in the mail, whatever. You say, you got the option there to put some common stuff, or you can put some personalized messages which are only for this particular customer, which could be useful. Like, for example, and say, remember your account is 30 days from date of invoice, or something like that. And that could be useful as well to just add to your invoice. Or you could manually just type stuff in here. And we've got some items about settlement discounts, which is quite an advanced option. I don't want to jump straight into that because that could be intimidating if we go into advanced stuff if we don't know the overall at this stage. The next thing you'll see, all the stuff that's colored in pink are the required fields. So the document number, for example, will be automatically generated by the system, or if you've got handwritten invoices and you want to just capture them in, you can just overwrite that and put your own one in. Your reference is a reference you can put in if you choose to, and if there's an order number, you can put the order number in as well. Generating an invoice, you can have a salesman. So for a particular salesman, you can say the default salesman for this particular document I'm capturing could be a specific individual, can have a code, and all the line items will then be captured for that salesman. The Win Accounting allows you the ability to do salesman by line item. So within an invoice, you can have 4 or 5 salesmen for that matter. Every line item can have their own salesman, and each one's commission will be tracked individually. So it doesn't force you to generate one invoice per salesman. So the high level default salesman is the one that's going to come forward. So let's say it's office, then you might have that one as default. But if you want to drill down and keep track of your salesman's commissions and such, you can certainly make use of that. Delivery address, you can have multiple delivery addresses set up for the particular customer. The default delivery address is 001. If you do not have a 001 delivery address set up, it comes out as blank, and you can manually go and select an alternative delivery address if you choose to. I'm just going to leave it as a default. So far, although I spent a lot of time explaining what's happening on the screen, I actually have only selected a debtor's code. I haven't captured anything else. I just showed you that I can edit that. So right off the bat, on this part of capturing the invoice header, all I did is I captured the debtor's code, and that has come in. I'm going to immediately click the OK button, and now it allows me to capture the line items. So I'm integrating with stock over here. So if you take a look at the screen, it gives us the ability to show the various line items on the screen. From here, we can print a delivery note, and we can also print and post the invoice, which will either automatically send the invoice to the client via email and or send it off on a traditional printer if you so choose. You've also got the ability to do immediate payments. So if you think of a small point of sale kind of thing. This is not full-blown point of sale in the sense. So I don't want to use the word point of sale and confuse people with other point of sale, but you have the ability to do front office desk type of sale of item, accept cash, credit card, other whatever, put the payment in and immediately post it. So then it'll post the invoice and the payment directly off to the person's account. I haven't done anything here. Basically, I typed the code in, clicked OK. I'm going to click insert and immediately go select a stock item. I select my stock item, put it in. I say how many quantity items I want. Now, the pink is the required field, so I'm saying I want 5 of these. On the right-hand side, it shows me my VAT rate. Where did it get this VAT rate code of C? For this particular stock item, the default VAT code has been set up as C, so it picked up that default. This salesman code came as the default for the document. I have the option now to change it to be a different salesman code if I choose to. The analysis code is the product code. This comes from the stock item that was originally configured, so I can do analysis on my stock items automatically, or I can override them to be different analysis codes. And of course, all the stuff you can add new analysis codes on the fly if you choose. Right, so on the summary screen over here, we're still at line item level. So on the summary screen here, we've got the opportunity to decide whether how we want to handle the VAT. So by default, the stock item was added excluding VAT. So when you bring the line item in, it's actually showing that this item is excluding VAT. I have the opportunity to override it and say, hey, actually, this is not an excluding VAT scenario. It's an including VAT. And if I change that, you'll see the summary on the bottom right for this line item immediately changes. I can make it back to excluding VAT, and then it's basically going to go to a price plus VAT type scenario again. And this can be done at line item level. So every single line item could have a mix and match of whether it's inclusive or excluding VAT. I wouldn't recommend it, but you do have situations where some items are zero rated VAT, or might be import-export VAT, or might just be all be VAT. But the program handles it completely fine. The challenge is just don't want to confuse your customer at the end of the day. If you are jumping, if your stock is, some of it's captured inclusive of VAT, some of it excluding VAT, it just can be confusing. So I'm just going to quickly add this item. Note all I typed in over here was I went straight to the stock code, selected the item, changed my quantity. I did change the analysis code just to show that I can change it on the fly, and I'm going to click OK, and there it goes and shows my line item. If I wanted to edit it, I can click the change button. On the bottom right, I've got my summary of my documents. For purposes of just demonstration, I seem to only have one stock item here. So I'm going to now insert a specialized stock. I'm going to actually put a non-stock item in to signify that. I'm putting an asterisk in the category. I'm going to just call it my service for that matter. I'm going to say time and material. And I'm going to say it's done in hours, and it's 6 hours at 650 an hour. There's no discount. I'm using VAT. It's excluding VAT. And I'm going to say OK. And immediately I've got 2 items added there as part of my invoice. At this point, if it was standing at a counter and someone was going to pay me immediately, I could say to them, okay, your amount that you owe is 4,548.25 cents. And if they pay cash, I can click the cash button and then actually just type in the amount that they paid. So I'm going to actually do that, 4548.25. But people don't always give you a nice round number. So let's say they paid 4,600, and there I immediately can see that the payment amount is what the invoice settlement is, and then the change that needs to be provided is 51.75. At this point, I can immediately now say print and post, and the system will automatically go ahead and print the invoice. I've got this one set up in my test environment here to automatically send an email off to the client. So it would have sent the email off to the client. And that's it. I've actually created an invoice. Whilst we were in the invoice, I could immediately go and take a look what my stock quantities were. Because one of the questions was, can I see the stock on hand immediately? The answer is, well, if I show you the stock quantities on the screen, it means that you're always posting your stuff immediately. And that is fine. But if you are batching scenario and the stuff hasn't been committed yet, means you can still change your quantities, then showing the quantity on hand is actually a little bit silly, because it's going to show you the same quantity because you haven't committed it. Okay, one of the questions that came up was recurring debits. Let me quickly show you recurring debits. Customer, so let's say I go to a customer here, and this customer has recurring monthly debits. I can set it up and say, okay, for this customer, one of their line items is a service fee. The cost price is 40 Rand, recurring amount is $50. Salesman, product code, VAT code, group code. I can then on the right hand side here, you'll see I can select which months I would like to do this recurring debit item. It doesn't have to always be monthly, it could be annually, it could be every 6 months or every quarter, whatever, and you just select the months where you want it to be, and you say okay, and it will then record that item. You then can add as many others you want to as well, and also select per line item which ones you would want. So let's say you're an alarm company where you charge a monthly fee for your services, but you happen to charge a special antenna single signal fee once a year, and you might want to insert that line item to only pop up on that particular month. Then that would actually happen, and you can actually get it to pop up. So when you've actually set up your recurring debits, you then just go into your invoicing module. You click on special functions and you say import recurring debits. Select which month you're actually wanting to bring in. Now, remember this system allows you to work across any month. So you could capture your entire annual position, because accountants sometimes have to do that for clients. You can capture your annual position in 1 month, and as if you had done it month to month. Or you can capture your stuff for this month for stuff that you did last month, just to catch up on your books. So the system will allow you to go and select which month you actually want to generate it for. So I'm going to just say for May. Okay, I thought I'll just show you. Here's one of the invoices that I'd posted. And it sent an email off. So I've set this particular document up so that it can have an introduction. So if you thought of this as being a quote, you might want to tell them a little bit of a story of how wonderful you are as a company, and then after that you want to give them information about your quote or your invoice or whatever it might be that you want to do, and then you might want to give them some terms and conditions that rides on the back of that. And this last page and the top page is all built into WINAC, and it's customized. This Dear A Debtor is actually the sample client that I had created. So it will mail merge it directly into your invoice and or statement if you set up your stuff like this, and facilitate the configuration of your documents. So let me just show you that part, because it's actually really important. If clients say, well, I want our statements customized, I want them personalized, it needs to show our brand. That's really, really important. So I'm going to look here at our debtors layout, and I'm just going to go to our invoice, my invoice layout for DS software. I'm just going to go to the layout, and here's the layout formatter. And I can go along here and change the layout to suit whatever our requirements are. So this is the one part of the page, and then I've got the base layout on how the layout of the invoice would be. So you're going to get clients that say, but I don't like this over there. No problem. You can assist them by actually moving the information to where they want it. And then we've got additional fields on the right here, some system information, which are related to the type of data that's there. So in terms of customization of your documents that you send out to the clients, it's very customizable and very, very nice for you to really get in and dig deep. Out of the box, you're going to not get this level straight away. Out of the box, that comes part of the installation. Well, you're going to get the level, but out of the box, you're going to get some of the standard documents. Let me just show you that. Like the default invoice layout. This is what you will get. And from the default invoice layout, you have the opportunity then to either further customize it or scrap it completely and start from scratch, or use this as a baseline to generate your own custom item. And that's very easy. You just take the existing one, you say file, save, and you give it a new particular project name when you update it. But when you create it, you can just go in, show you that. So we go highlight the item, F is factory default, that's what the F is there for. And I can say I want to copy a layout, and I click that button, I copy the layout, and then give it a new name, and then I then go and edit that to be whatever it wants. So when you go into the program for the very first time and it asks you for your user, you can go and select your company that you want to go into, and you can just right mouse and say insert, and immediately go and insert a brand new company, and the system will create the default set of data files for you. But when it creates the data files for you, it will then guide you through the process of setting up your system parameters. offering you defaults because you might not know what you're doing, and that's okay. Um, but by offering you defaults, you can just follow the defaults all the way through until the company is set up, and then you can play around with it and work with it. Out of the box as well, the sample demo company comes packaged as well. Within the software, you've got access to the help.winac.com. So there's a whole series of items of that where you could actually receive help, and that's all fine. But what I wanted to show you is, like, when you're in the debtors control, you have the ability to go and set up your email based on various email profiles. So you can set up an email profile in your system to say that your email will be sent from your email as part of your identity. One would expect it to be like that. If you happen to not have an identity set up, we have got defaults available for the small guys who don't really haven't really given it much thought. So I think I've set that up in my one of my defaults over here. So I've got a email profile here called no reply. So in this particular one, out of the box will come a default email account, and it'll be delivered from this particular address if a default one isn't set up. But allow them to still send emails off. We've got this facility, but they got the opportunity to do it themselves and have it customized to their own domain. Another thing which is actually pretty awesome is if we take a look at the configuration, every single user defined on your environment can potentially have different information routed elsewhere. So if you think about a restaurateur kind of environment where the person at the front is busy punching in and saying, oh, I want this and want that, it can spit it out on a printer in the back, and if it's an order that's been done. But then when it comes to an invoice that's been done, I potentially can send it off as a PDF and configure it. Yes, so you can say, I want to configure this as a PDF. I can configure it to say, hey, when I send the report, I don't want it a PDF. I want it to be an Excel spreadsheet. Or I want it to be just a preview. I just want to see it on the screen. And once I see it on the screen, I want to decide whether I want to send it to PDF and email it to somewhere. So you can actually configure it. But it's set up using two different configurations. The one is for single. So if I generate an invoice and single print and post, I can say I want to preview it because it might be, the client might be in front of me, or send it to a printer. But when I do a bulk, like let's say I'm capturing 200 invoices and then say, okay, press the button, I'm now wanting to print and post, that will be then a bulk scenario, and it will then send it off to the destination that's been configured for that particular client. So that can actually be very useful if you're wanting to send emails and or statements in that kind of a fashion. Once you put your stuff through the registration process, the system will send you an email and also give you access to documents like this one I'm showing at the moment, allow you to get into the quick start guide. And then once you've installed the software, it will also guide you through all the other bits. You see the online help is very, very extensive, and it will also take you through the journey of various steps to do over there as well.